Right now on Face the State, can she go from Teacher of the Year to the halls of Congress? Jahana Hayes is here to talk about why she wants to go from Waterbury to Washington. Also, he is the Republican-endorsed candidate for lieutenant governor, but can Joe Markley beat the two women running against him? And is he too conservative for Connecticut? Plus, working day by day, person by person to make the city of Hartford a better place. We'll hear from Lee Hunt and Sashana Stewart of the Blue Hills Civic Association. Our flashback, 25 years ago this spring, a famous name in Connecticut went out of business. It's all straight ahead this Sunday, June 17th, 2018.
From Eyewitness News, Connecticut's most watched local political program, this is Face the State.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Dennis House. Connecticut will be getting a new member of Congress next year. Perhaps more, but at least one. That's because embattled Congresswoman Elizabeth Esty decided not to run for re-election in the middle of a sexual harassment scandal. And with us today is one of the candidates who wants her job, and she is Jahana Hayes, former National Teacher of the Year, Democrat running for Congress in CT5. And Ms. Hayes, good to see you here in the program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So what made you decide that you wanted to run for Congress? Because you had this nice situation where you were teaching, and you loved it, as you talked about.
A really nice situation, and I think because of that situation, I'm doing this. As a teacher, I always thought it was really important to teach kids to take ownership in their community. When they saw a problem or a challenge, that they had to do their part, to correct it. You didn't just get to complain and be in my presence. And I saw what that did for kids. As National Teacher of the Year, I traveled around the country, I traveled around the world, and I came back with this heightened sense of obligation. I tell my friends, you can't unlearn what you've learned or unsee what you've seen. And I realized that I need to advocate from a different position, from a leadership perspective.
To those critics who say that you don't have the government experience to go to Congress, what do you say to them?
I have so much other experience that I think is necessary in Congress right now. I have the experience of understanding with fidelity some of the challenges that people in the 5th District face. I have the experience of knowing how to advocate on their behalf without any resources. I have the experience of knowing how to mobilize and engage people. I think that what we're forgetting is that it's not the responsibility of our leaders to do it on their own. I think that's something that we haven't done well enough in the state of Connecticut, is to obligate and energize other people to carry their part and to become active and involved. And I know I have the experience doing that.
What makes you a stronger candidate than your opponent, Mary Glassman, the former first selectman of Simsbury?
I think I'm just a different candidate than Mary Glassman, but what I've learned just in this very short time is in Connecticut, people are used to doing things the way we've always done them. And I have to remind people that sometimes that doesn't work. And we have to be open to different ideas, open to different experiences. And I think what I bring is a fresh perspective. The landscape of our legislature does not accurately reflect the people of the state. I think I bring something very different than my opponent that will resonate with so many more people. And I have an ability to work with all people. I've had to do that in a national way, which I think has been a fuel in my campaign. I have already developed relationships with people in other states, already been able to improve outcomes in places that are different from Connecticut, and that'll be really helpful in Congress.
There are some who say the nominating process wasn't fair to you. Do you agree with them that the nomination process wasn't as planned as well as you believe it could be?
Well, the decision from the state party came yesterday, and the state party did unanimously agree that there were some flaws. And for me, I was excited about that. The outcome, I think, says that as a party, we recognize that there were some issues that need to be addressed, and we own them, and moving forward, they will be corrected. That was good enough for me. I still did not get the endorsement, but again, this is so much bigger than me. So if the results of something that happened to me will improve the process for someone moving forward, I think that's a win for all of us.
There are people in Connecticut who believe that being a Democrat this year is not a good thing because of Governor Malloy's lack of popularity. At last check, he had a 21% approval rating. What is the argument that after all these years, and you say some things never change, there's always been a Democratic congressional delegation here in Connecticut. What's the argument that should continue?
Well, I think when we talk about things as purely Republican or Democratic, I believe in democratic ideas, but I think other people also have good ideas. I think what we need now is someone who's able to build consensus with other people, to move people to the middle, even when they have different ideas. I have, unfortunately had to deal with people who vote right down party lines, and that's not good for either side. I think what we really need is someone who says, these are the values that I believe in and the ideas that are important to me, and I'm willing to fight for them, but also hear what's important to other people.
You have to run a little bit differently than Democrats in other parts of the state, because Donald Trump did very well in the 5th District back in 2016. So you can't go out saying, we must stop Trump, because that's not going to go over well with some of your potential voters, correct?
Yes, but again, I'm not running against anyone. I'm running for something, and everything in my life had to be done a little bit differently. All of these, for the most part, I had to create a pathway. I had to build consensus, oftentimes with people who did not look, think, or act like me. So that's not something that's foreign to me. It's something that I've always done. And I know that it's going to be difficult in this 5th District, but my whole life has been difficult.
You had some early support from Senator Chris Murphy, and now an endorsement this week from Senator Kamala Harris of California, potential presidential candidate in 2020. Do you want them to campaign for you this year? Do you think they will?
I want every person who believes in me to stand up and step up and help me to win this race. I appreciate the support of both of those senators. But I was just saying to someone this morning, I'm a person who's lived my life where I treat a custodian and a CEO with the same amount of respect. So I would also like a campaign where regular people recognize that they are equally as important. I have grassroots volunteers, I have students, I have people donating $5 for the first time to a political campaign. They have to be a part of the process as well. So support from both of those areas are equally as valuable to me.
I'm going to take a page out of the Democratic playbook that they seem to use pretty much every election. That is bringing in former President Bill Clinton to Connecticut to campaign for who's ever running. But in the wake of the Me Too movement this year, people are now viewing him in a different light. They see him differently. Would you want to stand up at a dais and campaign with President Bill Clinton, or do you think that's not the message you want to send to women?
Well, he hasn't reached out to me, so I don't think I have to worry about it. But
if he was offered to you?
I would say that is not the message that I would want to send to women. I think that timing is everything, and this is the year where women are finding their voice, where they are standing up. And there are many things that I believe in, and while I respect his presidency and what he's done, I don't think that's, I really am trying to run on my own platform, not to be inextricably connected to giants in the party, or, I really want people to understand that this can look different.
Democratic candidate for Congress in CT5, Jahana Hayes, we thank you so much for being in the program today.
Thank you so much for having me.
When we come back, we will shift to the race for Lieutenant Governor. A little bit later, we'll talk about the Blue Hills Civic Association and what they're doing in the city of Hartford. But first, we invite you to watch past episodes of Face the State on our YouTube channel or on WFSB.com. We'll be right back.